right, for our second problem, we have third and fourth grade students. They are having a competition to sell the most candy bars. We can see that third and fourth graders sold a total of 710 candy bars, and our goal is to find out how many candy bars were sold by the fourth graders. So when I'm looking at a problem like this, I can see that we want to know how many candy bars did those fourth graders sell. So in other words, they tell us how many candy bars the third graders sold, and we know how many we have in total, which means we need to figure out how much the fourth graders sold. They want us to write an equation, and there's a couple of different equations that we could write for this. Probably the easiest equation that we could probably make is just very simply 710 candy bars were sold. We want to know the difference. We know that the third graders sold 354 candy bars. So we could just work it out as a simple subtraction problem. But we also want to learn how to use our friendly numbers and the number line to solve an equation like this. So when it says write an equation, usually I'm thinking that it must have an equal sign. So I'm going to write the equation as 354, because that's how much the third grader sold, plus, oh my goodness, sorry about that, plus some mystery number is going to equal 710 candy bars. Now the way we're going to solve this using a number line is we're going to start off with our beginning number, and we're going to work our way up to our target number of 710. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with what we have. We know we have 354. And we're going to work our way to the right until we finally reach our target number of 710, somewhere down here. Okay. So, but the first thing we want to do is make friendly numbers. And when I say friendly numbers, we want numbers that end with a 0. So how can I get 354 to be ended with a 0? Well, we're going to do some jumps, and if I add 6 to this, I can get myself up to 360. Let me make that a little bit thinner so I can write a little bit neater. So from this point on, I can go ahead and add hundreds very easily. As we get more advanced, we don't have to add 100 at a time. We can bump it up to 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever at a time. But for now, let's go ahead and practice with just hundreds. So if I add another 100 to 360, that's going to be up to 460. Oopsie, my mistake. Put it down here, 460. Let me go ahead and erase that part right there. Draw my line back in. This is plus 100. Okay. Then, I'm still not at my target number. I'm going to go ahead and add another 100 to this. So now I'm up to 560. Still not there. I can still also add another 100. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to add another 100 to my number line, and that gives me up to 660. Now here's where I need to be careful, because if I add another 100, I'm past my target number. So I'm going to have to start reducing. I can't jump by hundreds, but I could choose 50 or 10s or 20s. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, since this is 660, I'm going to make a jump of 40. And that will get me to an even 700. Okay. My target number is 710, so it just takes one more jump. And I'm going to add 10 on this jump right here, and this is going to be 710. And now the only thing I really need to do is I just need to add my numbers together. Okay. So I've got one. So I'm going to count all my hundreds. I've got 1, 2, 300. I've got 40, 50 over here. Then I've got a 6 over here. I'll go ahead and add that. And when I add those together, I end up with 356. Okay. So what is my missing number to solve my equation? I need to add 356 to get to my target number of 710. Now, if I just do a traditional way, which I had off here to the side, let me just make that a little bit bigger. I'm going to go ahead and make sure my lines are straight. I can't take 4 away from 0, so I'm going to go ahead and regroup. That's going to become a 0, and that'll become a 10. So 10, take away 4 gives me a 6. I can't take 5 away from a 0, so I'm going to have to regroup. So that'll be a 6, and this will become a 10. 10 minus 5 is 5, and 6 minus 3 is 3. So if we look, we should end up with the same number, which we do. So we can be pretty confident that we did the problem correctly. All right, for problem number 3, we see that we have third graders that are taking some pictures. We have a total of 600 pictures that were taken, and we know that Ken took 247 of those pictures. What we need to find out is what is the total number of pictures taken by the rest of the third graders. So again, what I notice here is this is a difference between how many pictures were taken versus how many pictures Ken took. Looks like he likes to hog that camera. So again, we could do it just like we did problem number 2 if we like. We could do the number line routine, where I know that Ken took 247 of those pictures. There are 600 pictures in total, right? What do we want to find out? We want to find out how many pictures were taken by the rest of the third graders. So again, our equation is going to look like, and I'll make it a little bit thicker this time. It's going to look like 247 plus some mystery number is going to equal 600. Again, I can do the standard subtraction method as we did last time, where I just write 600 minus the number of pictures that Ken took and come up with my total. But let's go ahead and try the number line routine, because that's one of the things we're practicing, is using that number line with the friendly numbers to get us to our target number. So again, as before, I'm going to go ahead and start off at 247. And our number line is going to continue till I get to 600 out here somewhere. So I notice that this ends with a 7. So to get my first friendly number, I'm going to go ahead and add 3. So adding 3 to this will give me 250, which will make my jumping easier. So we're going to do the same as we did before, just the hundreds. So add 100. Now we're up to 350. Add another 100. Now we're up to 450. Add another 100. Now we're up to 550. Now here's where I need to be careful, because if I add another 100, I'm up to 650, and that's not what we want. Our target number is 600, but I can easily add 50. Nice easy number, that is 50. And excuse me, I'm going to go ahead and erase that. I made a mistake there. Erase that small. All right, so add 50 to 550. That gives me to my target number of 600. So now that I'm at my target number, I just add my hundreds together. So I've got 300 there. I've got 50. Right here, I've got a 3 over here. There are no anything else to add, so we have 350. That is not what I wanted. Here we go. We have 353. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at this one right over here. The traditional way of doing it, I'm going to make sure my columns are straight. I cannot take 7 away from 0 or 4, so I'm going to have to borrow. So that's going to become a 5, and that's going to become a 10. So now I can borrow from the 10 to bring over to the ones column. So remember, that 10 means 10 tens. So I'm going to borrow one of those 10s. That's going to become a 9, and that's going to become a 10. And often we call that like the trade first method. I'll do all my trading beforehand. So 10 minus 7 is 3. 9 minus 4 is 5. and 5 minus 2 is 3. So we have 353, and it looks like that's the same solution we came up with down here. So looks like our equation's pretty good. All we need to do is plug our number in of 350. All right, on this number right here, all we need to know is about expanded notation, where we're taking each of these numbers and we're expanding it based on their place value. So really we know that the 5 doesn't mean really just 5, that means 500. And the 3 really means 300. So the first thing we can do is look at our possibilities, and do I see a 500 plus a 300? If not, I can automatically throw those out because I know those are wrong. So I don't see 500 on the problem A, so we can go ahead and get rid of that one. We know that's not correct. I don't see a 500 on D either. Those are just in the ones place, so there's no way that could be the answer. So we have 2 more possibilities. So I see 500 and 300, so far up to this point, both of those have the correct answer. I see an 8 here, which means 80, and both of those have 80, so far they could be correct. And then in the tens place here, that's 7, which means that is a 70. And I don't see a 70 there. They added the 80 plus the 7. That's not right. So of course our correct answer on this one, pretty easy, is our letter C. All right, on problem number 5, this is just a little bit of more of a multi-step problem that they want the students to work out. It shows here that the table below shows the number of pennies that Lisa saved each week for 4 weeks. So we have a number of pennies, but the most important thing that they want us to do, it says estimate. We need to round all of them to the nearest 10. So we make sure we round all of them to the nearest 10, not just making our choice. All right, so we can do this pretty quickly. 55 pennies. This first 5 is in the tens place. I look to the right, is that 5 or more? Yes, so that's gonna have to round to 60. 87, 8 is in the tens place. I look to the right, that's 5 or more, that's a 7, so I'm gonna have to round up to 90. The 3 is in the tens place. I look to the right, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, which means I'm not gonna change that 3, so it's gonna stay as a 30. And the 3 is in the tens place. That's the important part here. We're not gonna round to the 100 spot. So the 3 is in the tens place. So it says round to the nearest 10. So that is already rounded to the nearest 10. So there's nothing really to do with that one. We just keep it the way it is. All right, where it says work, it says what's the best alternate estimate of pennies for all 4 weeks? Show your work, explain your thinking. Well, really, show your work just means we're gonna show them that we can add these together. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're gonna add 60 plus 90 plus 30 plus 230. I'm going to go ahead and add those together. Okay, well 0 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. Now here's what I like to do sometimes off to the side. I know that 3 and 3 together is 6, and 6 and 6 is 12. So 12 plus that 9 that I have right here, it's a little bit easier to add than adding those together for me personally. So that's going to equal to 21. 9 plus 2 is 11. We carried that 1 for 21. So I'll go ahead and put that in my equation, 21. And 2 plus 2 is 4. So how many pennies did she save? About 410 pennies. Where it says explain your thinking,